Reading it to you all. We were going to talk about it like a book club. So hopefully you are all ready.
Oh boy.
Hopefully you are all ready. I'm going to move this to the side. Might be a little tough for me to read the chat. So the description of the story. I hope you all have a great time. Although the cause is something Mario isn't proud of, the Mushroom Kingdom is rejoicing. As the plumber deals with his affections for the princess, guilt, and his brother's complicated love life... What? Anyway, shadows on the horizon... What? I'm just saying. I didn't read the description before now. The Luigi's love life thing is like done within the first 3 chapters of this story. Shadows on the horizon threaten to overthrow the kingdom forever. Contains Mario X Peach and Luigi X Daisy. Rated T for violence and language. Re-uploaded from old account. Hopefully you're all prepared. Danielle, if you decide to leave the stream, that is okay.
No, I'm fine.
Growling in annoyance, Mario quickly jumped over yet another lava pit, dodging the fireball that shot up at him. Once he landed on the other side of the small river, the plumber instantly broke into a run for a set of stairs not too far ahead. With each step, Mario grew more and more tired, yet his determination still remained. A couple of days ago, the princess had, yet again, been captured by Bowser Koopa, king of the Darklands. Okay, I am going to comment on a few things here and there, but I'm going to save most of what I have to say for the end. But I do like, and when I write more Mario fanfiction, the area that Bowser is ruler of, in my opinion, canonically, the closest we have to a canon name for it is the Darklands, and that's from Mario 3, much as I might not be a huge fan of that game. Like the hero he was, Mario set out on a trek to save her. Making quick work out of each of Bowser's children, the Koopalings, the red hero was slightly surprised at the castle the Dragon Koopa was residing in. That's always what I'm going to call Bowser, because I don't want to just call him a Koopa, because he's clearly more than that. So a Dragon Koopa makes the most sense to me. What would you call him, Danielle?
I would say instead of a Dragon Koopa, I would kind of be... Maybe instead of giving a name to it, maybe just using a descriptive word like a Draconic Koopa.
Yeah, that could work. Alright. Normally, Mario would make it through the death trap in only an hour, maybe less if it was a good day. At this point, however, the Italian had been climbing for hours, and the sunlight of dawn was just beginning to show. Mario glanced ahead of him, noticing the ominous red doors come into view. Finally able to take a break, Mario let out a relieved sigh, hunched over, hands on his knees. Finally, the plumber wheezed. I'm here. Mamma mia, the things I do for Peach. Another thing I'm going to quickly point out. I feel like the first 2 or 3 chapters of this aren't actually that bad. But after that, it goes downhill very fast. To an outsider, and I think a reason for that is because I had a general, giant, overarching plotline planned out. But aside from that, I just did it as I went. To an outsider, it may have seemed as though Mario was speaking maliciously, but that was not the case. In reality, there was little the red hero wouldn't do for the princess, simply due to the fact that he was in love with her. Of course, Peach didn't know, and Mario had no intention of telling her. Sure, he saved her numerous times, but does that mean she loved him? No. To make things even more difficult, Peach was royalty, while Mario was just a simple man who enjoyed the simple things in life. Family, friends, and pasta. Especially the pasta. Trying to focus, Mario kicked open the doors, the shattering crash promptly followed by a deep, taunting laugh. Glad you could make it, plumber, Bowser chuckled, flashing his large canines. Any longer, and your little princess may have been toast. Where is she? Mario yelled, not taking his eyes off the Koopa. Bowser merely flicked his hand up, indicating the princess's unconscious body inside a rusty metal cage hanging above a river. It's supposed to say of lava, not or lava, not too far away. Mario's eyes widened as he noticed just how rusty the cage was, or, more specifically, the hook in which it was hanging from, because I have to specify that. Koopa, the plumber yelled, his voice wavering. What are you thinking? Even I know you don't want her death. She's merely bait, Mario, Bowser called back, taking a single step closer to the hero. I just needed you here. This is it, you nuisance. We finish this today. Before he could react, Mario was sent flying by Bowser, who had quickly charged at the plumber. Landing on a bridge, Mario staggered to his feet, and the dragon hopped over. By the way Bowser was smiling, Mario could tell he was serious. That doesn't make much sense. Mario wasn't supposed to leave this castle alive. I'm also gonna say, I've improved in a lot of things over the past couple years. I'm still very bad at writing action scenes. Action, or long action scenes, like an actual full fight, I find very hard to write with words, and I'd rather draw. Quickly, Mario jumped above Bowser, bringing his foot down as hard as he could in a signature jump attack. Other than a small flinch and stagger, the Koopa showed no signs of pain and quickly swiped at the plumber, who curved his body to avoid the assault. Bowser, after setting a distance between himself and the plumber, began launching fireballs down the bridge and towards his opponent. Taking out his hammer, Mario began knocking the danger away, each fireball going off in a different direction. Upon being hit by one, a massive thwomp came crashing down from the ceiling, narrowly missing the hero. Bowser isn't playing games, Mario thought to himself, if he's really gone as far as to booby-trap the battlefield. Before he could ponder it any further, Bowser was already in front of him, lifting the plumber into the air. Both battlers stared in a menacing way, staying silent until they began hearing an eerie creaking noise. Fuck off, Vinny. Looking toward the noise,
Vinny.
Mario noticed the hook of Peach's cage was almost entirely off its hinge, ready to fall in mere seconds into the lava. Watching a fireball burst out of the surface, the plumber was certain his princess wouldn't survive. Please, Koopa, Mario pleaded, struggling in the grip of his mortal enemy. Let me save her. I promise we can continue afterwards. Bowser simply growled in response before throwing Mario against a wall, causing him to fall to the ground, nearly defeated. Wheezing in pain, the red hero felt a warm sensation in his pocket. Slowly, Mario removed a power star, watching it glow and pulse as if begging to be used. However, Mario knew using it could lead to unwanted results. Just like before, Mario would temporarily become untouchable. But what about Bowser? Would the power instantly knock him out like every other enemy? Or would it simply make the plumber stronger by a small degree? What unwanted results? I don't think I ever even say what that meant. Glancing from the now charging dragon to the dangerously loose cage, Mario quickly gripped the power up tighter, letting it dissolve and course inside him. The world seemed to slow down, only the flashing of bright colors remaining at a normal speed as the hero could make out Bowser's every move. Quickly sidestepping, the star absorbed as much energy as it could from its surroundings. Mario smiled slightly, listening to the cheery little tune the power created as he swiftly punched the king. Finishing off with a roundhouse kick, because Mario totally does those all the time, Mario merely stared as the Koopa wheezed in pain, clutching his chest. Running past him, Mario jumped onto the cage, quickly opening it and grabbing his love before the extra weight caused it to fall. Bowser, on the other hand, readily launched himself on the opposite side of the cage, swiping at the plumber as an eerie snap was heard and the cage started to descend. Dodging a punch, Mario used the last few seconds of invincibility to grab the king's hair, ramming his head into the cage before throwing himself back to safety. Peach still held bridal style in his arms. Letting out a mighty roar, Bowser hit the surface of the lava with his head still... I think I remember this story. You probably do, Vinny. With his head still stuck in the cell, flailing around helplessly in an effort to stay on the surface. Mario knew he would be fine. From past experience, one knew that King Koopa was fine with lava as long as he made it out fast enough. Sinking below the surface, Bowser threw Mario one more scowl, and then proceeded to bite at the bars, still attempting freedom as he went under. For what felt like hours, Mario waited for the Koopa to resurface, just to make sure he had no other tricks left up his sleeve. Growing worried, Mario couldn't help but gasp as a spiked shell floated to the surface, along with a few bones. The red hero muttered to himself, quickly running out of the room to a nearby warp pipe. Did I just kill Bowser? And we're here, Mario smiled, turning his head to the princess as they finally walked through the entrance of Toad Town. I hope the walk wasn't too tiresome, Peach. Peach smiled and put her hero into a hug. It was fine, Mario. Your company made it bearable. Pulling down the brim of his hat, Mario blushed and shrugged his shoulders. Princess, you know I'm always... The plumber froze as Peach gave him a small peck on the cheek. He couldn't help but wish it actually meant something. Mario knew it was simply a custom for whenever requests would be over. However... would this be the last time? After all, Bowser was shaking his head. Mario ran a hand through his hair and put his cap back on before beginning to walk towards his house. Mario, the princess called, holding a hand above her head. You need to come to the castle. I expect Toadsworth will want a full report. Chuckling, Chuckling, Mario simply turned around and walked past Peach, who put on a small grin and waved to some of the nearby Toads, who were excited to have their Majesty back. Mario, on the other hand, couldn't help but feel sad, even though he just chuckled. True, he didn't spend a lot of time with Peach, being as he was the hero of the Mushroom Kingdom, but he couldn't help but feel anxious. If his biggest foe was dead, then nobody attacked the kingdom, at least not regularly. If no one attacked, there would be no need of a hero, and if there was no hero, Mario wouldn't be needed anymore, let alone be able to regularly visit the royal family. To top it all off, Bowser being deceased wasn't the worst part. The biggest problem on the plumber's mind was, he was a killer. And that's chapter 1. Now the author's note, oh boy. This story is a re-upload from my old account. If you're a returning reader, welcome back. As you know, the first 12 chapters are already written out, so this story should update fairly quickly. If you're a new reader, welcome. I hope you enjoy the story. Please, if you wouldn't mind, review. Please, with a tiny smiley face. Get that fucking shit out. The fact that I wrote this down at the bottom. Come on. The fact that I wrote this right here, this final line, chills me to the bone. It's like, no. There's no way that was ever me, you know? But it was. I said that. Anyway.
And this is exactly why I don't like having my...
I mean, but this is fun. And so now that we've got that out of the way, we can let Master Mario begin with his report. Mario stood at the other end of the table, smiling at Toadsworth before glancing at everyone else in the room. Oddly enough, both his brother and Princess Daisy were absent, but the plumber would tease Luigi about that later. Luigi had the same problem as Mario, as in, he had fallen in love with royalty. Luckily for him, the Princess of Sarasaland was rarely kidnapped, so he was able to spend a good amount of time with her. I don't have much to say, Mario began, scratching the back of his head, because let's face it, it's not too different from any other kidnapping. Although, one significant change did occur, but... Fiddy, I'm gonna stab you. Before he could continue, both Luigi and Daisy stormed into the room, loudly singing "For He's a Jolly Good Fellow," and promptly placed a large crude cake in front of the Italian. If he wasn't feeling so cruddy, Mario would have smiled. Maybe even let out a loud "Wahoo!" or even just what I needed. But no. Anyone who's broke something that wasn't theirs or failed on a report card knows the feeling the plumber was. I don't know if... I think has would have been better then. I don't know. Sure, his murder was bad, but would most likely be even worse once everyone else knew. Mario couldn't bear to think of what the kingdom would think of him, let alone the princess. She always wanted peace. How would she feel to be friends with a killer? Thanks, Daisy, Mario croaked, his voice dry as he put on a shaky fake smile. Looking over the cake, it was a simple red and white rectangle. On top of it was a note. Yet another thing that would normally be funny, if not for the current situation. Mario, it read in Daisy's cursive handwriting. Peach didn't have time to bake you a cake, so I hope one of mine can hold you over until the next time Bowser abducts her. And with our luck, that shouldn't take too long, Daisy. So, first of all, how'd you fit all that on a cake? And secondly, you shouldn't just casually be like, well, Peach is going to be gone again soon, don't even worry about it. And thirdly, if Peach just got back, right, then there was no way they thought about baking a cake until just then. If Peach didn't have time to do it, how did Daisy? Don't worry, it was nothing, Princess Floral. I do think Floral is a good last name for Daisy, because we know Peach Toadstool, but Daisy Floral I think works, because she's all like flowers and shit. But like there's the first few chapters of this story, there are a few things that I can admit that's pretty good. That I'm okay with that. Don't worry, it was nothing, Princess Flora squealed. I will say, even though Daisy's a tomboy, I make her very girlish in this. Wrapping her arm around Mario's younger brother as he blushed in a mixture of nervousness and pleasure. Besides, Luigi did most of the baking. Mario eyed Luigi, a soft, teasing look in his eye. Under any other circumstances, Luigi would deny everything and act as tough as possible. But this was Daisy. Taking a slice from Peach, the hero took a piece of it into his mouth, the guilt making the... Did I say desert instead of dessert? Tastes like poison. Master Mario, Toadsworth began. Let me get a good chunk of this onto the... Toadsworth began, his own slice of cake in hand. What was it you were saying earlier? Something abnormal happening? Mario flinched slightly, wishing he could at least finish his poison cake before being banned from the castle forever. Putting his paper plate and fork down, because that's what they use in giant royal castles. It's all about them paper plates and plastic forks. The plumber stood up and cleared his throat. And here's the other thing before I continue. Why even add the kind of plate and fork it is?
I mean...
Just putting down his food.
If you were being more descriptive about the setting, it would make sense, but...
Well, I mean, I don't know. When I picture royal castles, I picture paper plates and plastic forks.
Right, if you had called it something else, it would make sense to describe it.
The plumber stood up and cleared his throat. Beads of sweat dropping down his nose and onto his mustache. That sounded hot. Well, as you all know, King Koopa has been a thorn on our side for a long time, Mario murmured, choosing his words carefully. Yet, I can safely report that... The plumber paused, looking at all the small toad eyes before landing on Peach's large blue ones. For a second, even though I read this earlier and no, I wouldn't have said it, thought it was going to be Peach's large tits. Mario whimpered softly, noticing the look of concern in her them. Thinking about how angry she would look in a few seconds, Mario did something only that fear could make him do. He turned around, tears in his eyes, and began walking towards the door. I kind of made Mario a little bitch. He flip-flops between super cool hero and little bitch this entire story. And I feel like it would, you want to make your heroic characters human. And, like, a good thing about making a character human is that they can show emotion and sadness and cry. But, like, Mario's a little bitch. Like, I overdid it. Mario? Peach questioned, standing up at her seat. Is something wrong? Mario stopped and looked back, first at her and then at his brother. Quickly, the hero inclined his head in a way to tell Luigi, meet me outside. I can safely report that, Mario said, loudly so everyone in the room would hear him. I have killed Bowser. He won't be coming back. The fuck is this? I don't fucking know. A collective gasp filled the room as Mario pushed open the doors, going out into the castle courtyard as Luigi followed closely behind, desperate to comfort his brother. Meanwhile, Tino, this is my really old fanfiction. Meanwhile, Peach went to follow her hero, but had stopped to calm down the now roaring toads. Daisy hesitated, debating whether to help her fellow princess or follow the Green Thunder after his brother, finally decided to go with the latter. The toads all chatted away, a mixture of joy, shock, and concern for Mario. Finally, Toadsworth was on the floor, unconscious from all the excitement. Mario, Luigi said aloud, finding his brother sitting on the side of the dirt path leading, not leasing, to the castle. Luigi, the red plumber, Jesus Christ. Vinny, what the fuck? The red plumber said simply, looking down at the ground. Both men sat in silence for a few moments before the taller one wrapped his arm around his brother. Mario, he began, come back inside. I'm sure the toads are worried sick. As if on cue, a large cheer erupted from the castle, as the toads grew more focused on the death of their biggest threat. Mario simply sighed and put his head between his knees. 'Cause that's a thing. Alright, maybe they're not too worried. But why did you leave? Luigi continued. What, did you think everyone would hate you all of a sudden? The red hero lifted his head and leaned into his brother's shoulder. Exactly, he murmured. Before Luigi could say anything, Daisy jogged over and sat next to the brothers, her tomboy manner ruining the back of her dress. Mario, she yelped, a mixture of concern and anger in her voice. Why'd you run away? I'm a murderer, Mario wailed, flopping down on the grass. Who wants a hero who's a murderer?
You did overdo the...
I fully... okay, I'm going to save that, what I was about to say, until after I'm done reading the whole thing. Who wants a hero who's a murderer? Luigi looked at his brother in confusion, crossing his arms over his chest. Since when do you care about being a hero? That's not what he meant, Big Nose, Princess Floral retorted, tweaking Luigi's nose before laying a hand on Mario. He means, why would Peach want a hero who's a murderer? Luigi blushed sheepishly, while Mario simply nodded. Although Luigi, hold on. Although Luigi wasn't telling Daisy his feelings, Mario had repeatedly confided in the brunette, especially for his royal problem. She may not have been a potential love interest, but she was a great friend. Anyway, Daisy continued, Mario, I'm sure Peach won't hate you. She knows you wouldn't do something like that without a really good reason. She knows you wouldn't murder a guy without a really good reason. Mario simply shrugged, his eyes still slightly wet. Luigi couldn't even remember the last time his brother had cried, and he could only imagine the self-conflict he was going through. So, Daisy finished, poking Mario in the stomach. Are you going to talk to her? The Red Plumber stood up, wiping his eyes before helping both his friends up next to him. No, he replied. I think I'm going home. I'm really tired. Luigi and Daisy could only watch on as the Red Plumber slowly walked away, aimed towards his house. Mario calmly poured himself a cup of coffee and brought it over to his kitchen table. It had only been a day, and the plumber still didn't feel quite right. Mainly because he was nervous about the princess's opinion, but he couldn't bring himself to go and talk to her about it. He wasn't even sure if they would let him back into the castle. Mario, Luigi called from the front door. I'm going out for the day. The mail is on the table. Mario simply groaned in response, leaning back into his chair. Slowly, the Italian began shuffling through the mail, sorting out 2 light pink envelopes amongst all the plumbing requests. The first was a bright yellow note that was typed as a computer, on a computer. Mario chuckled softly upon reading the note. Dear resident of Toad Town, for those of you who do not know, the heroic Mario has permanently defeated the evil King Koopa of the Darklands. A celebration will be held at Soda Lake on the 20th. Feel free to attend and bring guests. I will say, giving myself some credit, I did only use names and locations from Soda Lake is an area in Super Mario World, so I'll give myself that. Mario sighed, hoping the letter was personal for him, before opening the second one. He grew slightly surprised as he noticed this was in big cursive writing. Dear Mario, in 2 days' time there will be a ball in my castle. It is a costume party, but dressing formally is still required. I have bought a suit for you. Please pick it up at the address attached. Love, Peach. Mario frowned in confusion. What did this mean? So this was back when I considered Mario's name Mario, because that's the only thing we ever had. At this point, he doesn't have a last name, in my opinion. He actually canonically doesn't have a last name. And then the author's note, just like when I first uploaded it, I don't really like this chapter. It's a bit boring, but necessary. And I'll leave the author's note at that. Like I said, this is all being re-uploaded, so it's hard to think of new things to say at the bottom. So, bye. Because I had to have an author's note on every chapter. Because why not? It was required. That was the cool thing for fanfiction.net authors to do, to talk to their readers through the author's note. It gets worse.
I even back in the day didn't often do it.
His alarm going off, Mario sat upright in bed and quickly pressed the off button. Due to his recent nightmares that have apparently been going on for a while that I have not mentioned till now, Mario opted to sleep almost the entire day of the ball, getting up in time to get his suit and shower. Sounds like a normal day of work for me. Normally he would go in his usual outfit, but this was the princess, and this was a princess who could potentially hate him. Even with the handwritten note, the plumber was uncertain. Did Peach not care he was a murderer? Did she want to talk about it? Worst case scenario, she only invited him to confirm he was no longer a hero or allowed in the castle. I spelled allowed in the castle loud. The letter A followed by loud. So, good.
That's a thing that I see people do every now and again.
Groaning in mental agony, Mario put on his shirt and overalls before exiting the room. He had stayed home during most of this free time in the last 2 days and was anxious to get out and about, even if he were to be treated as an outcast. To his surprise, not many of Toad Town's residents were out today, resulting in the walk to the shop being uneventful. Entering the store, Mario quickly handed Peach's note to the cashier and watched him go into the back room as the bell near the door jingled lightly. Mario, I've been looking for you. Turning around, Mario found a short man with a tuft of silver... It's supposed to say hair, not eyes. What the fuck? Carrying a large crate. Kneeling down so they could be on the same level, the Italian extended a hand while Professor shook it quickly, making sure not to lose grip on the box. Professor, how are you? Mario beamed, resting his arm on his knee. I'm well, Mario, I'm well, Gad replied, putting down the crate. I need a favor of you. Mario arched an eyebrow, slightly surprised with how normal the professor was acting around him. Regardless, the hero was willing to do anything needed him to, as long as he could still make it to the ball. What is it? I really needed a proofreader. Like, I really needed one. Well, I got a small team to go into Bowser's castle, the old man replied, and Mario flinched. Bowser's death was huge news. He should have known everyone would be talking about it. Still feeling guilty, Mario tried his best not to think about what he had done. To make things worse, everyone seemed to be happy about it. And finally, Mario... Fuck off! We know it's 13 chapters, PK Speed. It's really only 12, though. Mario couldn't blame them. As much as he hated to admit it, part of him enjoyed the fact that King Koopa was dead. Because the chapters also get shorter and shorter, I'm not going to lie to you. Shaking his head, Mario refocused on the old professor. When they came out, he gave me this crate filled with trinkets from the castle. Can you get it to a safe place for me? Mario slowly opened the box, gasping softly when he found everything inside. A paintbrush, a black jumpsuit, the old Vibe Scepter, the Koopaling Scepters, broken down Mecha Koopas, bunches of things Bowser had used to fight the plumbers over the years. In short, it was a box of memories. You guys are really hung up over the Darklands thing. It's just, at least I'm pretty sure, in Mario 3, World 8 was the Darklands. So I just considered that like Bowser's area. Shaking, Mario closed the box and looked at the professor, who sat there with a goofy little smile on his face. Yeah, Professor, Mario stuttered, closing his eyes. You can trust me. Without saying anything, left the store, just as the plumber heard a small cough behind him. Turning around, the cashier was holding out a white bag with a hanger coming out of the top. Your suit, sir. Taking it with a nod, Mario left the store and began heading for home, the town still practically empty. Holding the box in one hand and his suit in the other, Mario hastily entered his home, tossing the crate onto the table and getting out his clothes. Pulling on the suit, the Italian couldn't help but chuckle. The suit was an assortment of different shades of brown, a tie sticking out of the top. Near the rear, a big round tanuki tail stuck out. Meanwhile, a replica of Mario's hat was included, with 2 brown raccoon ears sticking out of the top. Why did I just call them tanuki ears? I clearly know it's a tanuki. Mario bought his bento box to Remorse. Chuckling nervously, Mario put the suit on and waited for his brother to come home, and anxious to make it to the ball. Alright, Mario thought, struggling to get Luigi to let go of him. Now that I'm on my way there, the ball doesn't seem nearly as appealing. Freezing at the front door, Mario looked over Luigi, who was in his usual outfit save for the color swap. His overalls were a bright orange, while his shirt and hat were a dull yellow, clearly trying to appeal to Daisy. Rolling his eyes, the brown, plumber shifted the box in his hands and watched the massive gates open. After heavily thinking about his options, the plumber decided Peach's castle was most likely the safest place for the items. Calmly, because no one ever broke into there. No one ever took over the whole castle at one point, making all the paintings magical. That never happened. Calmly following a toad into a large circular room, both brothers couldn't help but gaze in wonder at the castle. Excuse me. It had always been beautiful, but the decorations made it look even more amazing. There were new large curtains, a mixture of light pink and a deep red. Hearing a loud door opening, everyone turned to the top of the staircase, cooing at the beautiful princess at the top. Whatever that means. Peach stood there, a small, seemingly embarrassed smile on her face. She had a recolored version of her dress, a chocolate brown wave complete with her own tanuki tail on the back. Replacing the crown that normally sat atop her head, sat a headband with its own cute ears. As she slowly came down the stairs, Toadsworth made his way through the crowd and over to Mario. Master Mario, would you like me to take this box for you? Sure, the Italian murmured, unable to take his eyes off his love. Just make sure it's safe. Like, really safe. The toad nodded in response, taking the cargo and walking away. A slow song started to play, and all the party guests began to dance. Luigi branched away to find Daisy, and Peach made her way over to Mario. "Want to dance?" she asked softly, making the plumber blush and nod his head. Putting her arms around his neck, the plumber and the princess slowly swayed to the song. After a few moments of silence, Mario began shuffling nervously. "So, princess," he began, eager to get the conversation over with. The Italian murmured, "I'm actually dying from that." What's funny? Hold on, that's one of like the least funny things we've encountered. Mario being Italian, just the Italian. The Italian murmured. Unable, like you murmur, like you mumble. Anyway. Why is that a funny thing?
Yeah, like that's not very. I mean.
So, princess, he began, eager to get the conversation over with. "Oh, I'm sorry, Mario," Peach interrupted, blushing a deep red. "I just thought it would be nice if we matched." Mario shook his head, a look of concern in his eyes. "No, it's not that," he replied. "I wanted to talk to you about Bowser." Both of them stayed silent for a moment before Peach piped up, "What about him?" Legit, that's what it says. Mario stared in disbelief. "Well, Peach," he continued, "you don't feel anything for that?" Peach hesitated, her mouth forming a small pout. "Mario, I know you wouldn't do something like that without a reason, but I would like to know why if you don't know. If you don't mind." Mario closed his eyes, his lower lip quivering. He was ready to let you die, princess." Nah, I know you wouldn't do it unless you had a reason to do it. It's no big deal. But what was it? Just out of curiosity.
And in reality, the actual answer is, didn't really mean to. Just kind of happened.
Yeah. I mean, you just kind of died. I wanted to talk to you about Bowser and the fact that I murdered him. What about him? Like, The princess's breath hitched slightly, and she quickly hugged Mario closer. "Thank you, Mario," she sighed, tears threatening to come out. "Now that I have you here, and we don't have to worry about King Koopa anymore, I think it's time I told you something. Before she could continue, a large crash was heard from overhead. Throwing his arms out in a protective manner, Mario stepped in front of Peach and glared at whatever it was that was overhead. I want you to see how much of a pussy-ass bitch I made Mario. I want you to go from how fucking he goes super heroic and then 180 a fucking baby, okay? I want you to fucking... Okay. "You!" it screamed in a high-pitched voice, the figure slowly descending into the room. "You bad man!" Coming into view, Bowser Jr. could be seen, a raged look on his face as he floated down in his miniature clown car. Mario couldn't help but grin. An intense battle was just what he needed to get his mind off things, to get him out of his strange mood. "Bowser Jr., the hero called in a confident tone. "What do you want?" Growling in anger, the child swooped down, narrowly missing Mario with his vehicle. On his second attempt, Mario grabbed onto the side of the hovercraft, grinning in excitement. "Won't you ever learn?" he yelled over the whoosh of wind, taking out his hammer and hitting the propeller on the bottom. Upon braking, the clown car spinning out of control and crashing into the now empty dance floor. The Italian landed gracefully in a battle stance, while Bowser Jr. flopped onto the ground, remaining there for a few seconds before staggering back up. "Give it up, baby Koopa," Mario called, still smirking. "You'll never get the princess." Bowser Jr. stared for a second, anger still on his face. "I don't want that stupid princess," the child wailed. "I want my papa." Mario froze, the smirk quickly falling off his face. "Oh God," the plumber murmured. I forgot all about you."
Okay, I feel like he really should have made that realization.
Right, like
he saw it.
He before thinking, "Man, I murdered this child's dad just 2 days ago." His thought was, "Yeah, I'm gonna kick this kid's ass. I'm gonna feel so much better." Also, okay, to the chat. The hero and the Italian, if you're okay, if you are writing a story, you don't want to continuously say, and then Mario said, and then Mario said, then Mario did this, then Mario did this. You gotta mix up how you refer to a character. Literally.
Right, but I feel like you also needed to add in a few more different...
Oh, no, without a doubt I did. But, like, the fact that there are different ways isn't, like, the funny part here. You're missing the whole thing because you're focused on that. Anyway. Junior fell to his knees, rubbing his eyes as tears fell down them. Both his arms out, Mario ran towards the baby with a look of determination. Bowser Jr. wailed in fear. Quickly, Mario wrapped the child in his arms. "I'm sorry," he sobbed, holding Junior's arms. "I'm so sorry." The child... But how is he a hero for killing someone? Well, he's not a hero because... The whole point of these first few chapters was that Mario doesn't think he's a hero anymore. Anyway, Vib. What is this I need to read? Okay, so since more people are in the chat. Kuroshimi, this is a fanfiction I wrote a long time ago that never went finished, but I found it. Vib. So, okay, probably because I have bad taste, I don't see how this is that bad so far. Like I said before, the first 3 or 4 chapters aren't that bad. They're not super well written, but... And I'm going to talk about this more when I'm done reading the story. Conceptually, I think this is a great idea. But we're going to talk about that more after I'm done reading. Wait until chapter, 7, when we get fucking in there, because shit gets so bad. So cringe, I guess is the better way to put it.
Right, other than maybe, it could have been written better, there's a few things that kind of repeatedly stick out. And maybe the emotion is being overdone a little bit for Mario. A couple of things are out of character.
But I'm gonna.
But in general, it's a good idea.
I'm gonna talk about it more when I'm done reading it. We're about to finish chapter 3. "I want my papa," Junior whimpered. Mario ran a hand through his hair. "I know, Junior," he sighed. "I know. Now I need to decide if I want to spell Junior J-R or J-U-N-I-O-R because I'm routinely swapping it back and forth."
That's an easy one.
Digging through the crate over Bowser's weapons, a dark figure laughed to himself as he pulled out what he was looking for. "After watching for all this time," it said, a childish, high-pitched voice pronouncing each word, "I can finally fulfill my purpose." The figure stood for a few more seconds, picking up the box before bursting out into a loud, childish laugh. "Oh man," it exclaimed, "being serious is hard work. Being myself is much easier." If one were to leave the ballroom, they would have heard a high-pitched voice, laughing, telling itself terrible jokes and puns. And then we move on to chapter 4. Is there a website link you can put in the chat because I just joined? No, this bit, or Gabby, this has 13 chapters. Really only 12 because the 13th is me announcing it's dead. NetKing, I'm reading you guys the whole story. However, I will probably put a link to this on my Discord when the stream is done, just to always have it to look at, because why not? "What's this? I waited to upload this chapter and ended with 3 extra reviews." Sniff. "Aw, I love you guys. Shush now, say more at the bottom." Raven, you are easily probably the worst part of this whole thing. I said, I love you guys. I said that. That's a thing that came out of my mouth. And
okay, but to be fair, at the time, that was the norm.
I suppose.
That was the norm, at least among that age group. I did that shit too.
I guess. It's oh boy. Okay. Tucking the child into a small bed, Mario couldn't help but feel slightly guilty. Because that's not a thing he's been doing all this time.
Slightly.
It was easy to forget at times, but Bowser Jr. was only a few years old. After talking for most of the ball and a few hours after, the small dragon had admitted he had always thought the kidnapping was a game. I love you, Desu! Doki doki doki! The small dragon had admitted he always thought the kidnapping was a game, but he understood the murder, quote-unquote, wasn't intentional. If the plumber had the option, he would go back and save the king, just to ease the guilt. Not because it's the right thing to do, just to ease the guilt.
I mean, is it the right thing to do though? Is it not?
That's a very like okay. I'm gonna discuss this more when I'm done reading the story, but like there's some good themes here. Like, was it like think about this as an adult. Like think about this like Batman and the Joker, right? Is letting him live and imprisoning him the right thing to do, or would killing him be the right thing to do? Obviously, we don't get that kind of shit in fucking Mario, but it's that concept.
Right.
Mario, a voice called from outside the door. Opening it slowly, Peach peeked inside and beckoned her hero out into the hall. "Wanna talk? Or something?" she asked sheepishly. Thinking back on it, Peach realized they never had much of a chance to talk alone. If you Google Rising Shadows Mario fanfiction, this will be the first thing that shows up. Vib has also graciously, I'm assuming that's what it is. Yeah, Vib has also graciously added it to the chat on stream. Nodding, Mario followed Peach out into her garden. Lying on the grass, both of them looked at the stars, or the moon, or even the dirt. They couldn't bear to look at each other in fear of confessing their secrets, because that's all it takes. "So, Princess," Mario began. What were you going to tell me earlier? So action, like fighting, and romantic dialogue. I'm still not good at action, but I've gotten way better. Danielle can attest to this one. I've gotten way better at writing romantic dialogue.
Well, because you've experienced romance.
Yeah, like I wrote this when the most I had ever had was crushes on people. Now I've actually experienced romance, so I can actually fucking write it. But Danielle can't deny I'm great at writing romance. I'm also great at writing sex, but I don't really intend to do that.
Yeah, please don't. Not in Mario.
Oh boy. Anyway. What? Princess Totso croaked, tensing up. "Oh, nothing, Mario." Mario gazed at her for a few moments before shrugging his shoulders. Both of them stayed silent for another moment, unsure what to say. Eventually, Peach moved closer to the plumber, hesitantly lying her head on his stomach. Surprised, Mario couldn't help but feel the need to say something, anything, to break the weird atmosphere. "Ready to start a new life?" Because, that's how you start a conversation. Peach looked up in confusion, not understanding the Italian's meaning. Noticing, Mario cleared his throat and continued. "I mean, no more Koopa, no more kidnapping. You can finally move on. Become queen, get married, have children. A whole new adventure. And then, in author's note, sorry, can't resist, press B to start." Although this was true, Mario hated to admit it. Of course she would change. She'd marry some prince, become queen, move on, and forget the Italian plumber who lived on the edge of town. She would forget all about their adventures. I don't think that's a thing. I don't think she... Okay, I think... Because here's... And I retain this to this day. When it comes to writing romance between Mario and Peach, I retain the thing that, it really is kind of like the princess and the pauper kind of thing. Like, Mario's just your fucking... He's a hero and all, but, Okay, when I think of, Mario fanfiction and shit in my head, I like the idea... Press F to pay respects. I like the idea of how politics in the Mushroom Kingdom work, and so when you get to a point where you have to write romance between Mario and Peach, you kind of got to keep in mind, yeah, Mario, he does good deeds, but he's a fucking plumber that lives in a shack at the edge of the woods, whereas Princess Peach is Peach, the princess, as you may have heard. So I can understand she's going to go marry a prince, become queen, blah, blah. But there's no feasible way she's going to forget about everything that's happened.
Right.
"Oh, well, thank you," Peach murmured, slightly upset that Mario didn't show any recognition of her marrying someone being a problem. Nodding softly, Mario smiled down at the princess and poked her shoulder. "DMO," he stated simply, a small blush forming under his mustache where no one could see it. "I don't speak Italian, Mario." The friends stared at each other before they quietly started giggling. Quickly, Mario stood up and stretched. "It means good luck," he lied, helping Peach up next to him. Peach smiled and hugged her hero, calmly whispering a thank you before letting go. Chuckling softly, Mario gave the blonde a thumbs up and a pat on the shoulder. I want Raven to read all chapters of Trust Me, but it is Meta and Mag's voices. Give me $50 and that's donezo.
Oh my god, don't you fucking
Gabby,
dare.
Gabby, you donate $50? Done. It's happening.
Gabby, don't you...
It's happening. It's happening.
Oh, no.
If I get $50, that's a thing that's happening. Plain and simple.
Everybody undonate $50. Take $50 and steal it out of Raven's PayPal right now.
Hey! Turning, Mario saw Luigi stumbling over to him, blue gunk dripping down his face and clothes. Hi. Both the plumber and Peach stared at him, uncertain looks on their faces. Luigi, Peach questioned, are you alright? Ah, this, Luigi responded, pointing to his face. Nah, it's just blueberry pie, don't worry about it. Leaning in closer, Mario poked Luigi in the chest. Have you been drinking? He whispered urgently. Just like... Luigi, have you been drinking again?
That's actually amazing.
and the best... Okay, my favorite part about it. Have you been drinking? He whispered urgently, as if Luigi's had a drinking problem before. Have you been drinking, Luigi? Are you kidding me right now? Groggily, the younger brother nodded before hiccuping loudly. I think I'm gonna go home, he moaned, still showing off an awkward smile. See you later. As he walked away, Peach giggled quietly to herself as Mario tried to control his embarrassment. He was having a tender moment, just the right time for a junk plumber to show up. Anyway, Princess, Mario began, before growling when he heard another cry from behind him. Master Mario, Toadsworth began, shaking violently. That box you gave to me. The hero's face paled, fearing what came next. It's gone, you see, and because it didn't even last a night. I introduced the plot element of this box. Immediately it's gone. I think I should have given that a little more time. No longer listening, Mario began running through the castle, looking for anyone holding a box. Hello, Sharia. Welcome to the stream. Hope you have a nice time. Why is it this stream that I have more viewers than I ever usually do?
Right?
Why is it this one where I'm reading shitty old fan fiction that everyone's like, man, let's fucking show up for this Ravioko guy. Anyway. If the box was gone, who's to say whoever took it wasn't going to use it for their own purposes? If the box is gone, safe to assume they're going to. For a brief moment, the plumber thought maybe Bowser had taken it, and then quickly reminded himself that Bowser was no longer a problem. Nah, Gabby, that's not the deal. Danielle's not allowed to rewrite anything.
Excuse me? I was already in the process of rewriting
I want to read it as is. What's wrong with me reading it?
You remember what it is.
Okay,
right?
we'll think about this another time. Joking aside, let's just see what happens. Sighing, he failed to notice the princess walk up next to him. Find anything? She asked, frowning. Or rather, anyone? Mario calmly shook his head. He knew that whoever took the box wasn't friendly, and they were clearly much smarter than King Koopa. But who it was, Mario had no idea. Oh, well, Peach shrugged as if it didn't matter. Anyway, the Soda Lake party is tomorrow. You're going, right? A box of super weapons just got stolen. And we're asking about your fucking party. The day after you threw a ball. Mario smiled and nodded in response. I wouldn't miss it for the world. After a few seconds of gazing into her bright blue eyes, Mario quickly began blushing and looked away. Peach did the same, wishing they could keep talking. Well, the Italian began uncertainly, I'm gonna head home. Look, that's how I end every conversation, I guess. Alright, well, I'm gonna go home. Looking surprised, Peach quickly nodded her head. Oh, yeah. Good night, Mario. Mario gave her a small hug and whispered his own goodnight before walking out the door, happy with the night's results. Because it's not as though you now had to essentially adopt the kid because you murdered his dad, and because a box of super weapons disappeared. You are happy with how the night went. You dumb fucker. Mario and his brother slowly made their way onto the cruise ship. This is like a time skip later. Small bags in their hands that contain various sports equipment and swimming trunks. Luigi, are you drunk? That's one of the best parts. Luigi, have you been drinking again? In about an hour, they would arrive at Yoshi's Island, ready to celebrate at Soda Lake with a good amount of the Mushroom Kingdom with them. Mario was already returning to his former self, replacing his depressed frowns with his usual smiles, and this made everyone around him much happier. Leaning over the rail. Wait, how much time did you have to write this? I wrote this years ago, Derpy Jerry. This isn't something I whipped together to read to you guys. I wrote this in like 20...
there wasn't really a deadline.
Right, I wrote this in 2012. I was 14. I was in...
He had all the time in the world.
I was in middle school, and that was it. That was my only obligation back then. Anyway. Leaning over the rail, Mario inhaled deeply as the ship began moving, everyone cheering as his face quickly turned serious as he inhaled again. Luigi, he said seriously, turning toward the green plumber. You're tearing me apart, Luigi! Do you smell that? Smell what, Mario? Luigi squeaked, growing nervous at the sudden change in mood. Something dangerous? Smoke? Fire? Those would be about the same two things, Luigi. No, Mario replied, walking away from his brother. This is the cringiest line. I smell victory. I smell happiness. I smell that one smell that only occurs when everything is right in the world. Stopping at a doorway, the plumber peeked his head in before going in after the smell. My dear brother, I smell spaghetti. Oh, God. What a meme! Dumbfounded, Luigi could only stare at the now closed door, unable to contain his amusement as the sound of plates falling crashed from within. Everything was as it should be. Everything. Now, I want to say, first of all, again, the chapters get shorter and shorter. I outright said I would say more at the bottom, and then I proceed to not say more at the bottom.
Also, as silly as the lead up to and the spaghetti line are, I feel like it's actually quite in character, and I kind of like
No, it is horrendously in character. But, like, Mario was just 3 paragraphs ago talking about murder and everlasting agony.
Right. The pacing here is definitely a problem.
Yes, I think that's one of
the flow here.
The biggest problem of the story is the pacing. But that line, maybe cringy, it was out of place, but it's horrendously in character for Mario. Yes. Like, if Mario ever gets voice acting, that's going to be one of the full voice acting. That's going to be one of the first things he says.
Like, out of place though it may be on its own, there is nothing wrong with that.
Luigi rounded a corner, still looking for his older brother. After Mario had gone off earlier in search of Italian dishes, he hadn't returned. The Green Thunder paid it no mind. I do like the name the Green Thunder for Luigi. That's a very nice little reference to Mario and Luigi's Superstar Saga, where for one reason or another, Luigi gains electricity powers. So
at the same time, the way that you're using it here is very out of
place. Oh yes, very much so, but like overall I can see it, you know?
Yeah.
The Green Thunder paid it no mind, but seeing as everyone was now getting off the ship and there was no sign of the hero, Luigi couldn't help but be worried. Leaning his head down a hallway, the younger brother broke into a run upon hearing Mario's voice. No, really, it was delicious, he was saying as Luigi entered the room, both Mario and a Koopa sitting at a table. I said sitting at a table filled with empty plates. Once he heard his brother, the plumber quickly beckoned Luigi over. Luigi, this Koopa makes one great chef. The Koopa blushed and said something about 7 5-star restaurants before walking away, a small smile on his face. I feel like that was an inside joke that I don't remember. So, He just has 7 5-star restaurants. No punchline. Because when I was reading this earlier, I was waiting for that punchline. It doesn't happen. Luigi shook his head, still happy Mario was feeling better. Bro, we need to get going. We're at Yoshi's Island already. Does this cruise ship belong to Daisy? Probably. It's the only cruise ship canonically in Mario that I've seen. Standing up quickly, Mario brushed off his overalls and led Luigi out the door, a childish grin plastered under his mustache. Okie dokie, he exclaimed, grabbing both of their bags on the way off the boat. Time for a Mario party. Wait, Mario, Luigi whimpered, causing both brothers to stop on the sand of the beach. So, this is chapter 5. So, again, multiple times earlier in the story, I said that Luigi wanted to confess to Daisy, but it wasn't happening. And in the description of this story, I say his brother's complicated love life. Now, I just want to make it clear. Again, like I blatantly just said, I've mentioned Luigi and his feelings in the past. However, Luigi's quote-unquote complicated love life begins and ends and is not complicated in the slightest in this chapter.
Also, Mario's not that involved with it.
Right, like he just knows it exists. So that's a little bit of a lie in the description of the story.
He's not very concerned about it in general. There's a lot more important things to
yeah. Wait, Mario, Luigi whimpered, causing both brothers to stop on the sand of the beach. Can I ask you something? Mario stopped and turned, his eyebrows raised. Of course, Luigi. Anything. Do you think I have a chance with Daisy? Mario's smile faltered slightly because he just knew his brother's a little bitch, I guess. Having so many problems of his own, he had almost completely forgotten about his brother. Of course, little bro, Mario laughed, laying a hand on Luigi's shoulder. Sure, it's similar to Peach and I, because even though... Sure. Wait. No, that doesn't make sense. Sure. Okay, I say sure, it's similar to Peach and I, but what I meant to say was sure, it's different from Peach and I. Because even though Daisy is royalty, she isn't royalty. Understand? Luigi shook his head, eyes squinting in confusion. Sighing, Mario explained as simply as he could. Peach is a princess. Peach is a princess. I'm a normal man, and thus we would never work. However, Daisy may be a princess, but she doesn't act or even acknowledge that she's royalty, which means she could be the same as any other girl. You following me? Still confused, Luigi began scratching the back of his head. But Mario, technically she is a princess. Grumbling, Mario picked up his bag from the ground and began heading for the lake. Forget it, Luigi. The point is you have a chance. Sighing,
I'm kind of both of them in that argument.
Yeah, like, on the one hand, Mario has a very good point, and I feel like that's one of the great contrasts between Luigi and Daisy and Mario and Peach. Daisy is a princess only in name, and in no other way is a princess. So Mario has the complete point of... Yeah, I mean, like, she's a princess, but, like, she's not really. Like, you're fine. Whereas Luigi has the point of, yeah, but, like, she still is. Sighing, Luigi did the same and began following the red plumber, catching up to him quickly. I'm going to tell her today, Luigi bragged, his face beaming in excitement. When are you going to tell Peach? I'm not, Mario grumbled, frowning slightly. But good luck, Luigi. I hope it ends well. Luigi glanced at his brother, sighing at his obvious discomfort. Want to know something funny, Mario? The red hero simply shrugged a response, gazing at the hills in the distance, and then as an author's note, which, as creepy as it is, gazed back because they have eyes. Well, you defeated...
That didn't have to be an author's
note. That
note.
didn't have to be an author's note, in the slightest. That could have just been part of the story. What the fuck? Well, you defeated giant dragons and saved the earth so many times, the younger brother laughed, and yet you can't talk to a girl. Shoving Luigi in a friendly way, Mario began laughing and was soon joined by the younger of the two. Once they got to the party, the brothers quickly separated. Luigi went off to find his brunette crush, while Mario went off to find his blonde princess. Once he got into the middle of the crowd, he found her talking to a small group of young toads. And the Mario Party board is right over there, she said cheerfully, pointing away from the group. Cheering, the toads dispersed, anxious to have some fun. Still smiling, Peach stood up and jumped slightly upon seeing Mario. Mario, she giggled, hand over her mouth. Don't you know how to sneak up on a girl like that? Sorry, princess, Mario murmured sheepishly, blushing just from her sheer beauty. Mario blushes just about any time he's within like 10 feet of Peach in this story.
Mario's new nickname is Kirby.
Yeah, confirmed. Mario is Kirby. This is actually a prequel to Kirby Star Allies. So, how are you? Peach began walking to a clearer area, beckoning the plumber to follow her. I'm well, she beamed, cocking her head and smiling. You? Mario shook his head, hoping to get himself under control. Sometimes he wished Peach would make an effort not to look so pretty, just so he could talk to her like any other girl. I'm good too, he stuttered, giving a small thumbs up as they both sat on a beach. I have never, not once in my entire life, given a thumbs up in an unironic way.
It seems like something Sonic would do more than
Yeah,
Mario.
it doesn't seem like a Mario thing. Mario, I've been meaning to ask you something. Yes, the plumber smiled before noticing the faint blush on the girl's face. Why did you save me all these years? Vinny, you're just now confirming Vib is a squid fucker? We've known that for months.
GG.
The hero stayed silent for a few moments, trying to think of a suitable answer that wouldn't give him away. I don't really know, Peach. Please, Mario? You know you can tell me anything, right? That's how you can tell a good fanfiction.net romance story. The sentence, you know you can tell me anything, and or you know you can trust me. If it doesn't have that, it ain't good. Fighting the urge to confess himself, Mario quickly stuck his hands out. The cake. Your cake was amazing, and then we became friends. I thought it would be a friendly thing to do, you know? Peach's face bore a slightly disappointed look before quickly putting a smile back on. Thank you, Mario. I couldn't think of a better friend than you. Giving a toothy grin, Mario sheepishly rubbed the princess's shoulders. Wait. Mario sheepishly rubbed the princess's shoulder? So he just started fucking giving her a massage? I think it was he like rubbed his own shoulder. Thanks, princess. Peachy! A high-pitched voice squealed as Daisy ran over. I have the best news. Both the plumber and his longtime crush stared at the tomboy. She does not act like a tomboy at all, but I repeatedly call her a tomboy. Peach with her eyebrows raised while Mario simply grinned. Hope you got it done, Luigi, he thought to himself, backing off to let the girls talk. Here we go. Well, Daisy giggled, I was chatting with some toads when Luigi came over and asked if he could talk to me. Alone. At this point, Peach put on a smile and leaned in intently. So, you know, we were talking, and then Luigi just went out and told me he loved me. Mario silently laughed to himself. He had been expecting Luigi to do something romantic, instead of simply stating, I love you. Danielle, we all know you're a digifucker, alright? Like, we all know it.
Sorry.
It's okay. That's why you and I need to break up. But anyway, instead of simply stating, I love you. But Daisy had obviously found it very romantic if she was acting this girly, which was always rare. That's it? Peach giggled nervously. Daisy shook her head, smiling from ear to ear. Of course not. He managed to make it romantic. His lip was quivering like every other time he scared, which was so cute, and he even said it in Italian. I know that's cliche, but still, it was beautiful. I don't think I've ever heard anything more wonderful. Peach smiled and quickly hugged the brunette. What was it? She asked, gazing at Sarasaland's princess eagerly. It was TMO or something. I know I just said it was one of the most beautiful things he ever heard, but I'm not even 100% positive what it was.
Wow.
Mario froze. Did you guys see that? Because, like, Luigi confessed to Daisy by saying that thing in Italian that Mario said to Italian and Peach in the last chapter, and he lied about what it meant. Did you guys see that?
Yeah.
Did you see that great writing? Whoa! What a twist. Mario froze. Now get ready for Mario's reaction. Mario froze as Daisy bolted away. Shakily, he glanced at the blonde, her lips pressed together as she stared at him. Mario, Peach began, before the plumber quickly turned around and ran from the lake, his eyes wide and slightly watered, and everything was going so well. He just fucking booked it. He was like, alright, fuck it, I'm gone. Smell you later. Peach put a hand out, desperate not to cry out at the retreating red and blue figure. Why wouldn't you? However, I have like a cut on my finger that's bothering me. However, the princess decided against it and simply watched. She could understand his fear, seeing as she was just as, if not more, scared. Sighing, Peach turned around and sighed. It wasn't that she was worried about letting the hero off easy, because she wasn't planning on letting him off at all. She'd been in love with him for quite some time, and she was ecstatic he shared the feeling, but she was nervous about the change. Of course, the princess getting married would only make the large celebration in her kingdom continue, but what about their relationship? They'd been friends for so long, could they really handle this? Peach's thoughts were cut off as a large cry from the party. Gasping in surprise, both Luigi and Daisy ran up to her, scared expressions on their faces. "Princess," Luigi gasped, "we've got a big problem." Pointing to the sky, Luigi's legs began to quiver as a large figure loomed ominously in a cloud of dust. Looking around frantically, he realized something was missing, or rather, someone. Where was Mario? And then the next chapter, even though no other chapter's ever done this, starts with the last few paragraphs of the last chapter. Frowning, Luigi turned to the blonde and asked that very question. I don't know, she cried, a worried expression on her face. He just ran off. Luigi simply nodded and turned back to the... Like, oh, okay. Luigi simply nodded and turned back to the commotion, while Daisy gave her friend a suspicious look. Shaking her head, Peach clearly indicated it was none of her business, and the brunette sighed in annoyance. Fuck off, Daisy. Still scanning the party, the Thunder Mage couldn't... So that's another name for Luigi, the Thunder Mage. That one's not so good. The Thunder Mage couldn't even make out...
Luigi is a mage now?
Yeah, of course he is. He's the Thunder Mage. Couldn't even make out what was causing the problem, and he desperately wished his brother would come out of nowhere and save the day. Please. Luigi, Daisy said hesitantly, you're gonna have to do something. Luigi gulped nervously. Deep down, he knew that he'd be able to manage, but without his brother, it seemed like some sort of dream. Yeah, the plumber responded. I guess you're right. Hesitantly, he took out his hammer and turned it over in his hands before gulping loudly. Just as he began running towards the scene, various explosions were all around him. Fires were starting everywhere, and some of the concession stands were collapsing. In short, it was chaos. Quickly making his way over to a cry for help, Luigi pulled the toad into his arms and brought it out of the wreckage. Concern on his face as he pulled the child down in a safe area. Are you alright? He called above the noise, watching as the toad shivered in fear with tears rolling down his face. Not getting a response, Luigi grabbed the kid's arm and shook it. Do you have any idea what happened? No, the toad cried, and the green hero promptly led him further away. Although he felt bad, there wasn't any information the toad could give him that Luigi could use, and thus he needed to get out of the area. He only felt bad because you are useless to me and therefore must leave. If you were of use to me, you'd stay in the danger. But you are worthless, and you need to leave. I've been drinking again. Oh, man. Okay.
Oh my god.
Jumping back into the wreckage, Luigi helplessly looked... This chapter has a really cringy author's note, by the way, so be prepared for that. Jumping back into the wreckage, Luigi helplessly looked around for the problem before being crushed to the ground with a loud thud. Turning his head back, the mage saw one of the Kooplings, unable to tell which it was due to the fact that he never bothered to learn their names. I think that was more I, as a writer, didn't learn their names, and my solution, rather than just fucking Google the Koopalings and their names, I was just like, fuck it, Luigi never bothered to learn their names, so I don't gotta use them.
To be fair, though, why should he when half the time Bowser doesn't even know?
No, right, like... I don't blame Luigi in the slightest, but me as an author, I don't get a pass. It was you, not just me, the son of Bowser laughed. Not one of them, just the one. And not Bowser Jr., just one, the son of Bowser. Throwing his hands out as his siblings walked up behind him. We're all getting revenge. For Papa. Luigi stared wide-eyed at them. But what is it you're trying to do? We're gonna, resurrect him, the female said, hands on her hips. It's just gonna be harder this time around. Nodding in agreement, the children began laughing evilly, pointing their retrieved wands at the helpless plumber. Growing scared, Luigi quickly put up his hands in front of his face, desperate to escape any sort of damage, because that will help you from magical beams of wonder. Just as quickly as they'd advanced, Bowser's children ceased their threat, still eyeing the green plumber maliciously. "Don't just sit there like a coward," another Koopa yelled. "At least try to fight us. What, you can't do anything without that stupid Mario backing you up?" Luigi quickly hopped to his feet, pointing his finger at the leader of the group. "I'll show you. I don't need Mario to fight you guys." Luigi went full-on anime protagonist. Dashing forward, Luigi threw punches at each Koopling, only hitting a few of them. Being surrounded by these guys was new, so he wasn't sure if one tactic would work for all of them. Narrowly dodging a blast from a green scepter, the Thunder Mage quickly jumped over an oncoming shell and smacked the child behind it, his hammer hurling them a few feet. Grunting in pain, the Koopa shot the plumber a furious glance before... a furious glance before charging. For a second, I thought he just straight up shot it. Hitting him again. The Koopa fell to the ground. Man, Odyssey 2 is a pretty deep plot. Okay, where was I? Hold on. Hitting him again, the Koopa fell to the ground, wheezing as he failed to stand again. Luigi couldn't help the grin that came to his face. "One down, 6 to go," he called, looking over his shoulder at the other Kooplings. All stared at him with the same glare, not intimidated in the slightest. "We have to take him down together," one of them called, raising his fist in the air. Nodding in agreement, all the Koopa kids launched a fireball at the green hero, who dodged a third of them before being thrown back, so he dodged 2. Before he could get up, each Koopa curled in their shell and slid towards him, each attack worse than the last. As they stood up again, Luigi slowly began fading from consciousness, wondering where exactly his brother was. Daisy could merely stare from a distance as she watched one of the green figures fall to the ground and not get up. Of course, she knew 1 or 2 of the Kooplings were green, so she could only hope Luigi was okay. "Oh," Princess Flora whined, "where is Mario?" Peach merely shrugged in response, more worried than before. The plumber had always come to her when there was danger, so to have him suddenly disappear from existence wasn't assuring. "Danielle, are you even there?" Danielle's dead.
And on silent because bird and dog.
Oh, you really don't got to worry about it.
You say so.
Glancing back again, she sighed when she saw that he still wasn't back. It was nerve-wracking. Princess Toadstool couldn't help but doubt that he was in love with her, which luckily got her mind off the danger. Like, man, you're sitting there in front of fucking chaos, and you're like, man, Mario kind of likes my titties, though. Even though it was dumb to even consider it, maybe Mario got his Italian wrong. Maybe he was joking. Maybe he knew her feelings and was simply leading her on, because all of those things are very likely of Mario. Regardless, there wasn't much the blonde could do at the moment. "Mario, where are you?" Daisy cried, noticing that the battle was over and there was more than one person standing. The Kooplings had won. As if on cue, Mario jumped out of the smoke next to them, only recognizable by his signature jump, for he was simply a blue blur in the smoke. Luigi sighed in relief. That must have been why he didn't come back. He was sneaking up on the enemy. Neither Daisy or Peach could hear what they were saying, but suddenly Mario ran at the children and started swinging his hammer for each child. Dodging attacks, the hero stood a little ways away from the crowd, and Peach saw that he could only hope was a wave for her. Smiling, the blonde frantically waved back, blushing as Daisy grinned smugly at her. "Ha ha," the brunette laughed. "I have a boyfriend, Peach." The princess... Hey, I know we're going through some shit right now, but I'm just gonna brag on you. I'm the one with a boyfriend. The princess scowled, crossing her arms and looking away. "I don't know what you're talking about," Peach sniffed. "Just tell Mario already," Daisy sighed, putting her hands on her hips. "Because honestly, Peachykins, because that's totally a thing Daisy would say, neither of you doing anything is getting old, and guys like it a lot when the girl makes the first move." I had a crush on someone at this point who I think was reading this, and that was kind of a hint, I'm not gonna lie. "Luigi made the first move on you," Peach pointed out, her eyebrows lowered in an annoyed fashion. "I know. That's what made it romantic," Daisy squealed, once again lost in her own little world. Relaxing, Peach looked back at the battlefield and was surprised to see Mario finishing off the last Koopa and slowly began walking towards her. Although she could barely see him, Soto could tell their expressions were exactly the same. Terrified. And then really dumb author's note. Is it just me or is the chapter short? Alrighty, on to my real topic. Do you understand what I did? It's called false progression. I just made that up. I made you think something unexpected would happen, so when something totally expected happened, it was surprising. What a surprise. I know they seem defeated, but I don't feel bad giving away the enemy. They'll be back, I promise. Anyway, goodbye. And then I cut myself off because, like, you totally can't see that there's more to the fucking chapter. As Mario walked away, the children quickly scrambled in their clown car, a large cry of fear erupting from their throats. As it began to lift away, the plumber quickly turned around, jumping into the air and landing in the vehicle. Aggressively, the hero attacks the children before jumping out again as the car crashed with a deafening explosion. Peach gasped in surprise. There was no way the Koopalings would have survived. So I completely forgot, but I killed the Koopalings. What's going on? Both the blonde and the brunette turned in surprise as Mario ran up behind them. He gazed out into the battlefield with the women, who were puzzled as Mario was no longer there. A small puff was heard behind them. I personally imagine the tanuki leaf sound, as a cloud of blue mist appeared with their savior stood in it. You, Peach gasped in surprise as Daisy and Mario remained silent. She hadn't seen him since her vacation a few years back and was puzzled at how he even existed. Shadow Mario, Mario murmured. Shadow Mario simply nodded, a large smirk on his face as his red pupils glowed in excitement. It's a me, he laughed, his high-pitched voice sending chills down the plumber's spine. If there was one thing he wanted, it was answers. Okay, so this chapter, for the most part, is just the backstory that I told you guys. So I'm not going to read through all that. I believe there's like some original shit at the end. Yeah, okay. So you've been following me this whole time? Mario questioned, staring at his doppelganger with his mouth gaping open. Shadow Mario simply shrugged, his teeth shining as he smiled. Give or take. But what do you want? Peach questioned. The red plumber crossed his arms over his chest, a look of anger plastered on his face. It was a good question. Shadow Mario, Cosmic Mario, Duplish, whichever name he preferred, clearly had a goal in mind. But what was it? All I want, Shadow Mario sighed, casually waving his hand at Mario, is to prove which one of us is the real Mario. Me. What do you mean, real Mario? Luigi and Daisy gasped from the sidelines. Although they were concerned, they were also concerned. That's legitimately what the story says. Although they were concerned, they were also concerned, being as they weren't on the famed trip to Isle Delfino. They had only heard about the events on the news, just like the rest of the kingdom. I mean, Shadow Mario laughed, a friendly smile on his face as he looked at the brunette. Which one of us is really Mario? One of us was here before the other, and I'm pretty sure it was me. Growling, Mario threw a punch at the blue quote-unquote hero. He disappeared in a cloud of smoke. Looking back frantically, the blue plumber appeared behind the blonde princess, quickly placing her over his shoulder. To prove I'm the hero, Duplish continued, the smile from earlier transforming from friendly to cocky, I'll be saving Peach from you. Both men remained silent, Shadow Mario's face contorting as he tried to think of a suitable insult. You faker? I don't know, I'm not one to insult someone, even if they are as low as yourself. Mario gaped in astonishment. This man, if he could even be called that, seemed menacing one moment and childish the next. Taking out his staff, the blue painter smeared a large M onto the ground. Mario wasn't able to react fast enough to stop him, and thus Shadow Mario threw the princess into it, causing her to almost dissolve into the portal. By the way, the doppelganger sighed before jumping at himself. Quickly, he lunged his brush at Mario, a wad of blue paint hitting the hero in the face. Next time I show up to your party, don't mistake me for a drunk Luigi. I would be very happy. Mario scowled in annoyance as his copy bit his lower lip, attempting to hold back laughter. Get it? Because you said it was blueberry pie when you saw me? It's funny. Throwing his head back, Shadow Mario let out a loud, obnoxious laugh as he set back into the letter, dissolving into it before it shrank and disappeared. I like how the chat immediately filled up with Sonic Adventure 2. Faker, I think you're the fake plumber around here. You're comparing yourself to me? Ha!
You're not even good enough to I'll make you eat those words.
Hitting the ground.
Also, so far, you write Shadow Mario almost the exact same way that you write
Yeah,
Magolor.
no, like Shadow Mario is the original Magolor. Which I don't think here's the thing. I personally, I love the character I gave Shadow Mario. But all the explanations of how he is a character to begin with is too much. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But when you look past that, I kind of like how I made him different from Mario, but not super. Like I tried to throw in things like he genuinely believes he's the good guy. He's not one to throw around insults. You know, like I'll give myself that. And you are completely right. Like I told you earlier, Shadow Mario was just Magolor before I knew what a Magolor was. Hitting the ground with a whimper, Peach gazed around the stone room she was in. Before she could even stand, Shadow Mario landed gracefully next to her, humming cheerily as he pocketed his staff. Well, okay, so Tino, there was a very long backstory that I explained in the last stream of how Shadow Mario is his own character. Glancing at the girl, the hero smiled and waved happily. So, how about Shadow Mario grunted a displeasure. If his skin wasn't mostly blue, there would be a large red handprint where he had just been smacked. How dare you, Peach growled, hands still raised behind her. And here I thought I could live happily ever after without being kidnapped. And then author's note, keep dreaming, Blondie. Ha! I'm such a great author. I don't have confidence in the jokes I put in the story, so I must interject my own. That's fanfiction.net 101 right there. I should just make a tutorial. Damn, Miyamoto's gonna get pissed when we leaked the flaw out of Mario Tennis Aces. Yeah, Shadow Mario is Mario from another dimension. That's legit. Anyway. Shadow Mario waved his hands in front of himself hastily. Don't think of this as a kidnapping. Think of this as a hotel. Yeah, this is a hotel. Sorry, bud, but Bowser already pulled that one. What? Dupless deadpan before rolling his eyes. He's also Dupless from Thousand Year Door. Well, it seemed as if he did, seeing as huge red orbs replaced his eyes. Oh, whatever. Don't think of this as a prison. Sure, it may be an old castle where you were imprisoned, but you're only here to give Mario something to strive for. When I beat him, I want him trying his best. Scoffing in distaste, Peach waltzed over to a nearby window. Sure enough, this was one of Bowser's old castles. Oh, I get it. You're that Mario from another dimension. That is some shade at Sonic Forces. I didn't even think of that.
Can I tell a very short story?
Yes, you can tell a very short story.
Okay. So I went to pick up fucking Hacker's Memory today because I pre-ordered it and I never picked it up. The kid in front of me was getting the last copy they had of Sonic Forces, and he was like, "Wow, it was the last one. I'm so lucky."
That poor kid.
So lucky, and I was like, I mean,
that's one way to look at it.
Yeah, I'm glad that you're happy.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Scoffing in distaste, Peach waltzed over to a nearby window. Sure enough, this was okay. It hadn't been entered in years, but the inside wasn't as bad as she thought it would be. Anyway, I was thinking we could, catch up, Shadow Mario muttered, leaning against the wall next to the princess. Peach growled softly and glanced at you. And glanced at you? Peach looked directly at the reader, fucking Deadpool style. Glanced at him. I met you once years ago. You kidnapped me. Why would I want to get to know you? Well, I mean, if you remember correctly, I did save you loads of times before then, Shadow Mario whimpered, sounding defeated. No, you didn't, Peach growled, her fist clenching as she turned away from the blue plumber. Shadow Mario remained silent. Both of them stood in the room, neither moving. Peach began to worry. Was he even planning to do anything with her? He seemed peaceful enough, but then again, she should know by now to trust anyone who goes out of their way to kidnap her. Peach barely heard the "I'll talk to you later" and the sound of a closing door behind her as she continued to think of all the possibilities. Meanwhile, the party at Soda Lake was going haywire, because it wasn't before. It wasn't before when everyone was dying. Toads screaming their heads off as they ran through the wreckage created by the Kooplings. Mario stood atop a hill away from the fiasco, slight tears pricking his eyes as he continued. Mario's crying again. There he goes. As he continued to stare at the one piece of ground his special someone had just disappeared into. I don't get it, Luigi whispered, leaning towards Daisy. Why is he taking this so hard? It's not as though Peach hasn't been kidnapped before. Daisy looked over at him. I'm assuming Danielle just got a knock on her door. I think that's what I heard, but I'm going to keep reading. Daisy looked over at him. Why JoJo? Oh, this glitch. Dio! Oh my god. Daisy looked over at him, a caring look still on her face. Well, it's different this time. We have no idea where she is, and Shadow Mario seems much smarter than the average Koopa, let alone Bowser. So then what do you suggest? Mario glanced over at his brother, who was now only a couple of steps away. Well, there isn't much we can do other than search for her. The trio remained silent, all trying to think of some other resolution, but not getting any results. After a few minutes, Daisy slumped her shoulders and let out an annoyed sigh. And I guess I'll go check Sarasaland, because it's such a fucking pain in your ass to look for your missing cousin and best friend. I'll go check around here as well as Rogueport, Luigi offered, trying his best to sound cheery. And I'll check the main areas of the kingdom, Mario murmured, and the Darklands if we don't get any results. Shuddering slightly, both Luigi and Daisy walked off, eager to begin the search as Mario remained on the island. He refused to simply search for the girl, even if he said he would. There had to be some clues to where Shadow Mario had taken the princess. Then again, Mario didn't really have anyone he could go to for answers. The only people who even knew what was going on were Luigi, Daisy, and himself. And seeing as no one knew much about the doppelganger, they couldn't guess where. Mario paused. Why hadn't he thought of him before? Bounding off to the boat, Mario quickly began to regain his adventurous spirit, because he's done that like 3 times now. Entering the princess's castle, Mario noted how his footsteps easily echoed off the walls. It appeared no one was there, and Mario could only hope that the little turtle was still around. Junior, the plumber called. This is a really dumb moment here. Junior, the plumber called, a hand to his mouth as he looked down yet another hallway. At the end was a slightly ajar door, loud crashes emitting from the room. Speed walking down the hall, Mario peeked inside the door to see the child banging some Legos together, a look of anger on his face. Junior? What? Junior growled, trying his best to look fierce, which didn't work. Mario stepped in, and that wasn't me adding that was in the story. Mario stepped into the room and crouched next to the prince. Is something wrong? The professor told me, Bowser Jr. growled, grunting every few seconds, that these Lego things that could be used to build, but they don't work. Mario carefully took the Legos away from the child. Listen, Junior, we have a bit of a problem, and I need your help. Now we're nearing it. Okay, this... Ooh, boy. This is where it gets cringy. This is where it goes downhill. As if it wasn't already going very far downhill before. Mario's plan was, thankfully, a simple one. All he wanted was for Bowser Jr. to take him to any place he thought Shadow Mario might be hiding, or to help him find anything that may aid in his defeat. It's just over this hill, the Koopaling squealed in delight. Bowser Jr. is not a Koopaling. Hopping up and down on the plumber's back. If it wasn't for the fact that he had prior experience to carrying fidgety children for long periods of time, this piggybacker would have been brutal on the hero. What exactly are we going for again? Mario asked, a slight gruffness to his voice as he shifted the weight of the turtle. Drunk Luigi t-shirt? I'll do it. An old castle of my father's, Junior explained for what felt like the millionth time. However, in reality, it was only the second or third time. There's some things there that we can use to fight off your doppelganger. Excellent vocab, kid, Mario groaned, rolling his eyes. The Red Hero really wished people would stop referring to his new enemy as a mere clone of sorts. He was just some poser. Hurley just took his appearance because he was handsome? Yes, because Mario was ever so handsome, this enemy decided he would at least try to look the part. This, of course, was a lie, and Mario knew it, but he had trouble thinking there really was a clone of sorts going around. Now walking downhill, the plumber put Bowser Jr. down next to him and calmly looked up at the light blue sky. It was hard to believe that the princess was once again stolen mere hours ago. Hard to believe that the entire incident took place in less than that time. And even harder to think about when Mario realized he had murdered his enemy, confessed his love, abandoned Toads when they needed him. I don't know when that happened. I don't know when Mario abandoned Toads. I guess when he ran away? Like, when he was scared or whatever? And to make a new enemy all over the course of a week and a half. The universe must really hate me. Mario Ratu, you guys, prepare yourselves. This is it. We're going full cringe. Mario thought to himself, chuckling softly as he watched the kids scroll down the hill. Now that he wasn't causing mischief and actually got to know the plumber, Mario understood that Bowser Jr. wasn't bad at all. In fact, he could be rather cute. Who are you? The hero's head snapped up as he heard Junior's shrill voice call out. Standing in front of them was a man slightly taller than Mario, wearing a black robe that managed to shroud his face. I admittedly point out in the story, ugh, how cliche. He simply said nothing, before turning towards the hero and clenching his fist. All his dialogue is like separated from everything else, bold, italics. Oh, it's like some Kingdom Hearts shit. I have been waiting for you. Get ready for this dial. I can't stress that enough. Mario clutched his head in agony as Junior quickly ran over. The man wasn't saying anything, and yet Mario could still somehow hear him. I've been waiting for you for a long time. Well, Mario wheezed, his voice still shaky as the pain slowly but surely subdued. I'm here now. What do you need? You dead from my hand. Sorry, mister, Mario continued, pushing the Koopling behind him. But loads have tried, and none have exceeded. What makes you think you can do better? Disappearing in the same manner Shadow Mario would, the robed figure promptly appeared next to the hero, gripping his shoulder roughly. Unlike the others, I have everlasting darkness, the power of which you have yet to encounter, hero. Before he... I'm choking on this cringe, I apologize. Before he could retort, what appeared to be black vines began spreading all over Mario's body, cutting off his air supply and vision. He gagged, kicking his legs as he slowly lifted into the air. But I'll let the shadow do his work. The time will come when we're allowed to fight, and my patience knows no bounds. Flopping onto the ground. Oh, this is just Mario versus Kingdom Hearts. Who the fuck is talking? The Mysterian Man in the cloak, Vinny! That's who's talking! Flopping onto the ground. Mario sucked in large gulps of air as the man quickly disappeared into thin air. Was that not the most cliche thing ever? I'm sorry. I admitted how cliche it was twice, and I still did it. Sorry I didn't do anything, Bowser Jr. said meekly, running a claw up and down his arm. It's fine, Mario managed before jumping up again. I'm sorry, I gotta give it one last read. Unlike the others, I have everlasting darkness, the power of which you have yet to encounter, hero. No. Okay. Oh, right, not far now, Junior quipped, before waddling ahead by a few feet. The plumber carefully looked around the large castle he and Junior just entered. What the fuck happened to Junior playing the Legos? It just happened. It was there and it's gone. You're not paying attention to this deep lore-filled story. Which according to him was used as a warehouse of sorts. All around the room were cardboard boxes, some open and some closed. Mecha Koopas were littered everywhere, as well as discarded bullet bill cannons and various other bits and bobs. It was truly phenomenal that Bowser had this much equipment, but the fact of the matter was, Junior, as cool as this is, I don't think any of this can help defeat Shadow Mario, Mario complained hesitantly, walking slowly behind the child who would run a couple feet ahead. Well, of course not, Bowser Jr. retorted, knocking aside a box and landing a conscious spell on the floor. It's gotta be somewhere. The hero merely watched as the Koopa ran back and forth, knocking over boxes and pushing discarded weapons out of the way. Mario chuckled softly, finding the child's obvious frustration amusing. You know, are you sure there's anything here we can use? Almost as soon as the words left his mouth, the plumber felt a light tapping on his foot. His breath hitching, Mario carefully picked up a small bomb. Junior? He literally killed your dad. Why are you helping him? Yep. I used the excuse of, oh, Bowser Jr. is only like 1 or 2 years old. He did not understand kidnapping Peach was bad. He thought it was a game. He now acknowledges it was not a game and that his dad was bad. That's it. He called out, hesitantly holding Emmy up by leg. There it is, Bowser Jr. squealed, running over and taking the small black ball away. Quickly making his way over to the wall, the Koopa took the key out of the back of the bomb and plugged it into a socket Mario hadn't noticed. Almost instantly, a chunk of the wall next to it retracted, revealing a room that slowly began to brighten, fucking Scooby-Doo style. Run, Junior, run away and never return. What is this place? Mario gulped, watching his junior confidently strode ahead. The room contained much more advanced knickknacks, clown cars, a giant hot air balloon, battleships, and a large empty square in the corner, which was probably where the previously destroyed clown cars resided. On each wall was a computer, and as Mario went up to it, he found nothing but a map of the Mushroom Kingdom. So, what does this thing do? The plumber thought to himself before stepping closer. The map seemed to be insanely basic, just different colored geometric shapes and labels such as Forest Maze and Delfino Plaza. Once again growing bored, Mario moved the mouse over to Toadstool Castle, clicking it without hesitation before he could realize it probably wasn't a good idea to mess with this stuff. And yet nothing happened. Hey, Junior growled, stomping over. What did you do? Nothing, Mario sighed, turning away from the computer to be presented with a smooth golden hammer. The excellent craftsmanship seemed to gleam in the sunlight from the windows, and the hammer looked used by someone with loads of experience. Wait, Mario growled, snatching the weapon away. This is my hammer! Bowser Jr.'s yellow face promptly blushed, only a tiny hint of it visible. I know, but Papa and I kind of took it. I'm sort of surprised you didn't notice. But why? Mario continued, growing less annoyed. Without saying a word, the Koopa shrugged his shoulders, a sheepish smile on his face. We assumed you wouldn't be as good unless you had it. You quickly proved us wrong, but it's not as though we would just give it back, you know? Mario rubbed a hand across the hammer, feeling a sturdiness and power. That's how I feel when I touch my cock. It truly was a magnificent thing, and it worked a lot better than his current hammer. Pocketing it for later, the plumber looked around the room once more, not seeing anything else of interest. Is that it? Yep, Junior chuckled, looking oddly nervous. Mario sighed. On one hand, he did retrieve a great weapon, but on the other hand, the entire last couple of hours felt like just one of those filler chapters in a story. Okay then, Mario sighed, motioning for the kid to follow. Let's go home. The plot of Kingdom Hearts 3 is fucking insane. Alright, we're almost done, you guys. We're almost done. Look at how short these chapters are. Like, Princess Toadstool gracefully sat up in her lush bed. Red blankets with the Dark Land symbol covered her legs, and red curtains managed to block most of the sunlight from interrupting her slumber. Without any further thought, Peach sprang out of bed, thankful she was still in her dress as she hastily moved around the room. As soon as she heard a shrill scream from behind her, the blonde whipped around and joined in. Shadow Mario sat on a chair beside the bed, his arms and legs spread out in front of him. Don't scare me like that, the blue plumber cried, slowly lowering his hands and feet. I thought princesses were supposed to wake up all peacefully, not jump out of bed and scare the living daylights out of anyone nearby. Peach stood in front of him, her face showed no emotion as Dupless stood up and regained his composure. When's the manga? Well, what's done is done. Good morning, he cried, smiling brightly before receiving another slap to the face. Where are we? The blonde demanded, leaning with her hands on her hips. What are you doing? Well, you looked uncomfortable on the floor, so I moved you into a bed. But I couldn't just leave you alone, so I stayed to watch you. But I fell asleep, so when you woke up in a rush and I got scared and started screaming, and then I tried to say good morning, but you slapped me, and Shadow Mario explained, sheepishly trailing off. Peach simply stood there, stunned, as Shadow Mario slowly backed away. Oh, well, thanks, Peach muttered, crossing her arms over her chest. Dupless merely smiled in response, shrugging his shoulders. Want some breakfast? Peach bit into her scrambled eggs, savoring the flavor. Shadow Mario had brought her down to Bowser's kitchen, which surprisingly had plenty of fresh food in it. The man seemed nice enough, complimenting her and smiling since she had slapped him. Peach began to wonder if Shadow Mario was really a bad guy. Dupless sat opposite her at the rather large stone table. He looked at her for a moment, smiling once more before eating his food. Peach couldn't help it. The tension was too much for her. Why are you doing this? Peach sighed, neatly placing her fork beside her plate. Shadow Mario looked up, a sausage hanging out of his mouth before he spit it out onto his plate with a blush. Doing what? Eating? No, Peach giggled before stopping herself. This man seemed so much like Mario it was almost scary. Why capture me? Shadow Mario sighed. I told you, it's not that I want you to be kidnapped, quote-unquote, Mario whispered. I just need that fake Mario to try his hardest when I beat him. You're the fake, Peach growled, standing up and going to turn out of the room. I'll make you eat those words! No, I'm not. Peach whipped around, glaring at the pouting man. The hurt in his eyes seemed genuine, or at least close to it. It wasn't the first time when Blonde had wondered, did Shadow Mario really believe he wasn't the fake one? I told you, Shadow Mario whimpered. He came and he took you all away. Peach was startled, to say the least. Dupless was on the verge of tears. She didn't want to do it, but It's okay, Peach cooed, wrapping the hero in a hug. She felt him stiffen as she wrapped her arms around him. Even though I'll never say you're the real Mario, we can still be friends. Her kindness got the best of her. It's not like I wanted to kidnap you or anything. Shut up, Mario, is it soon today? Okay. So what do you want to do now? Peach shrugged. Although she had said they could be friends, Shadow Mario couldn't help but notice the almost hesitant glint in her eye, or her occasional distant attitude towards him. Let her ease into it, he told himself repeatedly. She can't hate me forever, right? Hello? Dupless jumped in his seat, smiling sheepishly at his new friend. Sorry, I was thinking. Peach merely rolled her eyes, leaning away from the blue man. I asked if you had any paper, the princess repeated, sitting in a chair across from her host. Of course I do, he replied, digging through an insanely cluttered side table drawer before pulling out 2 sheets of blank paper and a pencil. Peach quickly took one and began drawing, angling the paper away from Dupless when he tried to look. Sighing in defeat, Shadow Mario took the second paper for himself, whipping out his paintbrush to work on it. Before he could finish, the blonde shoved her drawing in his face, a dopey-looking Dupless with the red Mario kicking his behind. Shadow Mario's feelings were hurt, but only until he saw the teasing smile on his companion's face. Well then I guess you can't have this, Shadow Mario joked, holding out a hand-painted picture of the blonde. If it weren't still wet, Peach would have had to admit it was an amazing picture, but the flourish Dupless had used to present it made the paint spring all over the page. Peach glared at the blue hero for a moment. Are you trying to flirt with me? Of course not, I don't find you attractive. Both people remained silent, unsure if a smack would present itself in the next couple of seconds. Well, what I meant to say was, Shadow Mario stuttered, shivering once he realized he was safe from the gloved hand. You're very beautiful, but I don't see you in, that way. Once again, the room fell silent. Peach couldn't help but be happy. This definitely would make things easier when she and Mario were united. But it also proved Shadow Mario did have some differences, and here she thought he was a perfect copy, not including the color and voice, of course. Before she could press the matter further, a loud boom shook the castle, and both Princess and Plumber quickly rose from their seats. Rushing over to the window, Shadow Mario looked down at something Peach could not see before poking his head back in, a furious look on his face. That red idiot, he growled, already making his signature M on the wall to travel away. What is he thinking? Turning back to the princess, Dupley quickly ushered her into the bedroom, closing her in before locking the door. Sorry, he called, wrapping up the gateway to wherever he was going. I can't have you leaving while I'm away. Afterwards came a loud popping sound, and Peach was left in total silence. We're fucking just about done, you guys. Shadow Mario peeked from behind a big, mushroom-like building, watching 2 Toads walk into his shop before scurrying across the street. The artist knew that, until he proved his validity, most, if not all, of Toad Town's residents would see him as a criminal, and he would need to remain unnoticed. He was slowly making his way to the castle, eager to protect the town from the oncoming danger. I'm tired, Bowser Jr. complained, trudging slowly behind Mario. Rolling his eyes, the plumber promptly picked the Koopa up, hoisting the child onto his shoulders. We'll be home in the next 10 minutes, Mario sighed before pointing ahead. See, you can literally see Toad Town looming red on the horizon. If something is on the horizon, you're not going to make it there in 10 minutes at walking speed. So enough with the complaining, alright? Who drew the icon for the Fantic? I did. Well, rather, I took artwork of Mario and edited it. The baby Koopa growled softly before turning his head around. The red hero felt him stiffen for a moment. Hey, Mario, he whimpered. What's that? Before he could finish, both were nearly knocked off their feet by multiple large black objects whizzing by from overhead. The plumber and the Koopa looked on for a moment, watching them streak across the sky before fading into the horizon. Rather, before he could shake it off, an explosion erupted from where the objects had disappeared, seemingly in the very town they were heading to. Any idea what these are? Mario, as more and more seemed to appear out of nowhere and head for the castle. The baby Koopa looked furious, scratching the plumber's left slightly. I don't know what LEF is. Whatever. Scratching the plumber's left slightly before growling loud enough for him to hear. I told you not to touch anything. But I didn't, the hero lied, watching the Koopa run towards the royal town before chasing after him. After pausing to watch for a few seconds, Mario quickly ran for his home, worried about the casualties. Shadow Mario stood atop Peach's castle, using his paintbrush to deflect enormous bullet bills away from the town. One or 2 projectiles had managed to hit the royal building, but Dupless had quickly covered the holes with a tarp of paint, at least for a temporary seal. His left nut. However, he was getting tired, very quickly even. As much as he hated to admit it, the artist was quickly wishing his rival would show up and help. What the hell? Speak of the devil. Quick, Shadow Mario yelled, pointing over to the opposite side of the roof as a bullet bill appeared over the horizon. Hit it away! Mario instead scowled at Peach, rushing over and grabbing his collar before growling in his face. Where's Peach? Shadow Mario growled in return, pushing the man away before deflecting an oncoming projectile himself. Answer me! I'd love to tell you the obvious hiding spot, Duplessis yelled, quickly running back to his post. But I, unlike you, am the good guy, and I'm sort of busy protecting the castle, alright? Mario looked on, aghast. Raven's going fast to get this over with. It's not that I want to get this over with, it's that like I want to be able to chill. Excuse me? I'm the good guy. Both plumbers ran around the roof. And as you can see, these chapters are very short. So, like, it doesn't take long to just get them done. Both plumbers ran around the roof, deflecting any and all bullets coming for the castle. It quickly turned into a contest, the two men smirking at each other, seemingly enjoying themselves. Getting tired yet? Mario called, grinning as he held his hammer up in the air. Shadow Mario grinned and waved him off. Please, my score is way higher than yours. Don't think I'm quitting now. Nearly an hour later, both Marios were exhausted, hunched over as they walked to meet in the middle of the roof. How many did you get? Mario chuckled, seemingly forgetting their rivalry. 47, Shadow Mario breathed. He stood up straight, looking down at his red-clad counterpart before whacking him with the paint staff. What are you made of, stupid juice? He yelled, glaring at Mario as he rubbed his head. Why shoot at Peach's castle? I didn't know what that button did. Not to mention the fact that I still have Peach, Duplessis continued, crossing his arms over his chest. Are you even trying to find her? Of course I am, Mario yelled, his anger quickly returning. Speaking of which, where is she? Mario, it's such an obvious place, Shadow Mario laughed, his arms falling back to his sides. Where is she always taken? What are you, made of stupid juice? To Bowser's castle... to Bowser's castle, but considering the fact that he's made hundreds, that doesn't really help me. Shadow Mario rolled his eyes, looking up at the sky. Yes, but this one wasn't always his. Mario eyebrows lower as confused. What do you... You know, if you hadn't stolen my identity, the artist butt in, a hint of sadness in his voice, I think we could have made good friends. Before he could even respond, Mario watched a shadow jump into the air, splashing a gob of paint below him that disappeared once he was through. Keep your stupid comments in your pocket. Alright, so this is it, guys. This next chapter, this is the final chapter that ever came out for this story. I hope you're ready for this one, Danielle, because you told me specifically not to do this. Before he could retaliate, Luigi was pushed up against a wall. Luckily, it wasn't with a lot of strength, and it certainly hadn't hurt, but it did manage to make a grunt come out of the green hero. His eyes fluttered as a pair of gloved hands made their way to his neck, wrapping around it tightly. The younger Mario brother whimpered softly, although it wasn't a whimper of pain. It was a whimper of pleasure. Mario's gonna be so mad at us, Daisy murmured as she brought her lips to Luigi's neck, a soft, uncharacteristic girly moan making its way through her throat. The green thunder brought his hands to her hips and pulled her closer, still squeezing his eyes shut. I think this one time I'll be okay with angering my brother, Luigi mumbled once they separate. And I'm sure he knew that when I said I'd go to Rogueport, I meant I'd take you on a date. Is that the... So they've been on a date and fucking for hours at this point. Is that the code you two use? Daisy teased, stepping away from her love and sitting on the edge of a bed.
What the fuck?
Going to Rogueport means making love to a woman? No, Luigi blushed, crossing his arms. If you remember correctly, my ideal for the date was to search Sarasaland together. You're the one who wanted to come to my vacation house and do that. They got together like 7 hours ago in the story. It also does not make sense for it to still be daytime in the story, but maybe it's night. Who knows? The princess of Sarasalan smirked and pulled on some undergarments, a gleam of pleasure in her eyes. Luigi smiled and slipped on some clothing himself. Both got dressed in silence, flashing their partner a smile every so often before being interrupted by a bright flash coming from one of the room's side tables. Luigi, Daisy mumbled once she had regained her composure, looking around the room. What was that? The younger Mario brother stayed silent as he rummaged around the side tables, wiping his round relief before taking out a large golden circle. It was just this, thankfully. And what exactly is that? It's Mario. It's Mario. It's Mario's, Luigi clarified. Even though we both live together in Toontown, we have separate, bigger houses. I have this place, and he has an old castle. But, before seeing how insecure Peaches could be, he put these 6 golden coins on as a lock. When you bring all 6 to the door, they flash, like this one just did, and the door unlocks. It's the only way to get in without something like teleportation, which none of us can do anyway. Mario nodded in understanding, taking the coin from Luigi and studying it carefully. But if it flashes when you unlock the door, and this needs to be at the door to unlock it, why did it flash now? Well, really, they flash when the door opens. The unlocking process doesn't really have any visuals to it, you know? So, the door just opened without all the keys. The Green Thunder's mouth opened as though to say something. Paco, I understand, but it's the plot. It's a twist. You're supposed to figure it out as you read. I know it doesn't make sense. That's the point. The Green Thunder's mouth opened as though to say something, before his eyes took on a worried look and he quickly pulled his hat onto his head. We need to get back to Mario. He'd want to hear about this, and we've been gone long enough. Meanwhile, Shadow Mario yawned and stretched his arms above his head, still sitting on a dusty throne, shifting through various magazines that had been left lying around. They flash as an indication of a boner. After another minute of this, he finally stood up for what felt like the first time in hours and made his way down the hall of a rickety old wooden door. May I come in? He called gently, knocking on the door. After receiving no response, he cracked the door open a bit, peeking in to find a sleeping princess. There's no one to talk to. You could always talk to me. This is the edgy guy. You could always talk to me. Duplo spun around to see a man slightly taller than himself, wearing a black robe that managed to shroud his face. He was waving slightly, the annoyance in his voice clear as it echoed through his painter's head. Who are you? You really don't remember me? That's too bad, but I'd be lying if I said I was disappointed. I couldn't care less if someone as stupid as you remembered someone as mighty as myself. You're a jerk. I don't want to talk to you, Shedemar grumbled as the man turned around and sat on the same old throne. How did you get in here anyway? I, like you, can shadow walk. However, I simply walked into the front door. If you remembered me, you would have known that 6 little trinkets can't stop me. That's my throne, Shadow Mario growled, pulling his paint staff ahead of him menacingly. Listen, I'm the hero of the Mushroom Kingdom. I don't take lightly to villains like yourself. You're no hero. Mario is the hero. He is not. I'll defeat him, and then I'll defeat you. Oh, really? You'll defeat him. And how do you plan to do such a thing if you're too much of a pansy to even tell him where to find and challenge you? It's Xehanort. A faint blush made its way into Duplo's cheeks, and he shrugged his shoulders. If he can't even figure it out on his own, how does he suspect I'll ever believe he's the real Mario? Regardless of your terrible battle plans, I don't plan on interfering. Just thought I'd drop by and say hello to my favorite failure. Mario stood in place, stupefied, as the man promptly disappeared off the throne, leaving the artist alone once more. So now, Chapter 13, titled The End. So I'm going to read through this just because it gives a lot of interesting things. I think this is a more detailed version of how the story was going to go. So I'll read it to you guys, and then we're done. Hello everybody, it's me. I've come to a decision. Rising Shadows is hereby discontinued, as well as the 2 other stories that were going to continue it, and any of the spin-offs. Maybe someday they'll be revived, but it's just, well... I started this story almost a year ago. Then made it to chapter, 12? Then I started working on a separate, shorter story on the side, plain game, as well as a few one-shots. Then I had to make a new account and start republishing all the stories of Rising Shadows, but I haven't republished any of plain game or my one-shots. Now I'm on a hiatus, and it's come to the point where I've lost interest in writing this story. As hopeful as I was a year ago to see the trilogy finished, I'll certainly be republishing some of my one-shots and may republish/finish playing game, since it was so close to being finished anyway. I will leave this story up, most likely it'll go unfinished. However, I will give you all a brief summary of what was still to come. Mario and Shadow Mario / Dupless were going to eventually face each other, as I'm sure you all guessed. While the battle was intense, Dupless would end up the winner, driving a blade on the end of his paintbrush through Mario's heart and killing him. However, upon doing this, Shadow Mario realized there was no way he was the real Mario. Mario would never kill, unless it was unintentional, like Bowser at the beginning of the story. And even then, we could see how heartbroken Mario was. See, I think that was a really clever little, Dupless won the fight, but therefore proved how much of a faker he was. Because, you get it? I think that's pretty good. Kind of. It's way too edgy, but with such a fatal wound, there is no way a one-up mushroom would help. So by sacrificing a piece of himself, which he learned how to do from a book in the creepy steeple, Dupless brought Mario back, which only temporarily weakened himself. Then he went back to live at Twilight Town to figure out who he really was, while Mario and Peach went off to live happily ever after. But a year later, the shadowy figure would return. Vinny's just sitting here confused as hell. It's fine. Mario would attempt to fight him, only to find him unstoppable. Eventually, Shadow Mario would return, now romantically involved with Vivian, and inform everyone of who he was. There was a dark version of the Mushroom Kingdom in a parallel world, and he was one of the members of the evil Stacks, which consisted of him, his brother, the Shadow Queen, Peach, a girl named Rose, Daisy, and quote-unquote, the leader. While assuming he would be an amazing evildoer, being as he was the counterpart of the Mushroom Kingdom's greatest hero, Shadow Mario was a huge disappointment. For some reason, he could do no wrong unless forced to. The leader eventually injected him with a formula to bring out his evil intentions, but even that didn't work. But his incredibly evil brother, Mr. L, decided he would have to be bad enough for both of them and injected himself with the same thing. This time things went wrong, and Mr. L became simply an entity. He could no longer interact with anything physical, much to his distaste. However, during the events of Super Paper Mario, Mr. L learned that he could take over Luigi's body, and soon after that, he learned he could once again become physical as long as he was near the green-clad brother. So soon after Shadow Mario recounts this story, we learn that the shadowy figure is none other than Mr. L himself, who constantly wanted to prove that he was better than Dupless ever could be, even if Dupless was evil, by taking over the Mushroom Kingdom. Not only is Mr. L much stronger than Mario, he also managed to take over Luigi, making them an incredibly powerful team. Mario would team up with Shadow Mario, who once again left at the end of Rising Shadows, and thus the two aren't really friends just yet, and fight Mr. L. In the battle, Luigi would be knocked into a coma of sorts. I don't remember any of this planned. Mr. L sapping the Green Plumber's energy and making him slowly die. While Shadow Mario fought off his brother, Mario went into Luigi's mind, Dream Team style. This gets so convoluted. I feel like I was Kojima. I was Kojima when I was 14. As Shadow Mario finishes off Mr. L, Mario awakens Luigi, and the battle is won by the good side. But after Dupless weeps about how he cared for his only brother, as evil as he was, and was struck with immense sadness, now that he's the only remaining family was dead. With that, and the fact that he now understands how bad a thing killing people is, even while not fully acquainted with him, Mario refers to Dupless from there on out as the third Mario brother. However, the three aren't left to rest for long. When the third story begins, we learn of who the leader was. A man from the dark version of the Mushroom Kingdom named Eureka, a dark version of Professor Egad who's much more masculine. And then, for whatever reason, ever see that one episode of Invader Zim where we see Dib's future? And remember Grown Up Dib's awesome lightning bolt hair thing? Eureka had that. Just so you guys know. Eureka explains that he wishes no harm to the Mushroom Kingdom when this Raven fights Shadow Raven. Eureka explains that he wishes no harm on the Mushroom Kingdom. All he wanted was the Power Stars to rebuild his own home. Although Dupless distrusts him, the three brothers agree to the offer out of a sense of heroicness. We can't just let a world die out because we don't like this guy. Swole Egad! But once they bring all the stars to him, Eureka informs him that they could care less about his world. He challenges Mario to a one-on-one battle, which our hero quickly accepts and absorbs the power of the stars. Right after that, Eureka explains that the closer you get to the light, the larger and denser your shadow becomes. That is just... That is legitimately straight out of Kingdom Hearts. That is legit straight from Kingdom Hearts. It's also way too edgy, which I totally ripped off from Kingdom Hearts. Good, I even admit it here. As Mario tries to figure out what he means, Shadow Mario buckles over in pain. The injection from years ago finally kicks in, and Shadow Mario is also stimulated by the stars, just in a different way. Mario once again fights Shadow Mario, this time both powered up. Mario manages to win, and Luigi frantically rechanges the wounded Dupless as he calms down. And, that's it. I never planned an ending, at least not one I was happy with, but I'll certainly continue writing fanfiction. I did not. I have not written fanfiction since this. I'll be republishing it. My one-shots didn't happen. Writing more Mario didn't happen, as well as some Pokemon didn't happen, and whatever else I want. As a matter of fact, I'm already slowly working on my own 2 new Pokemon stories, don't remember them, an entitled one consisting of nothing and That Guy Next Door, which takes place after Pokemon X and Y. Fucking amazing games right there, because I used to love those games. Nowadays I look back on them and they're like, eh. Then I thank everyone who, reviewed on a regular basis, and then I said goodbye. But yeah, that's how the story was gonna go. Whew. Okay.